Hi everyone, can I welcome you to this evening service? We're live just on YouTube and live also on our Facebook. And today we're going into our money and investment part 2, building now for a secure future. And so I believe that we will have a wonderful time in the presence of God. I'm just going to wait for some people to join in while I'm oscillating between my two screens right now. And I want to welcome Kiz. Kiz is joined online for Look at Me. Hello, Cecilia. Good evening, everyone, as you start to join. Ayobola, Deborah, Gina, a very good evening to you. We're in Goshen this year. And so we believe that with financial intelligence and with the grace and the mercy of the Almighty God, we will have enough to be able to fulfill our dreams and to guarantee success. Come on, Olushola, God bless you, and Lena and Salon, God bless you all. Just wait for another few people. Lola, yeah, you are so much welcome. You understand? Salon, you are welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I know you may see me bending my head now and there, but I'm just having to check through the other screen. And Cecilia and Yasmin, bless God for all you as you start to join. And so this evening, we are going to start our program. Just some instructions, please. If you've got any questions, you can put it into the YouTube. We wanted to get some questions beforehand, but we didn't get any. So please don't be ashamed to put in your questions. Put in your questions. It doesn't really matter what you think about them, and we will attend to it. And if we've attended to it, then we'll just say we've done that. Yasmin and Tina and Taiwo, God bless you all as you start to join. This is the day the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad. Miss Tina 85, good stuff to have you online, and Dorothy Okwolua, blessed be God. All right, I'm going to start. We're going to pray. And after prayer, I'm going to introduce our guests who are coming on. They're not guests, they're really familiar people with us, many that they're in Worship Tabernacle, but they are guest speakers tonight, and we're just going to have a great chat. And I'm just excited about this because whoa. I'm sure that you are going to get something from this. So let's pray, and we're going to start. We don't want to wait for too many people because we want to get everything that we can get today. And guys, Manchester United fans, I wish you all the best tonight. Focus on what you need to do right now, which is here, because they have got a lot of money and they've invested in themselves. So just learn and be patient, and you will have a wonderful time. Father, we thank you for this evening. We're so great that we can come in again to have our money and investment seminar part 2. And we ask in the name of Jesus that, as I always say, life surely will be shaped tonight and dreams will be fulfilled. Some people are depressed and some people are unhappy with their lives because of money issues. May they receive answers tonight. May they receive answers. May their lives and their money thought process be shaped in the name of Jesus. I'm asking God that you will pull people out of the debt. You will pull people out of sorrow. You will pull people out of financial depression and set them on the way to financial peace and financial independence in the name of Jesus. To God be the glory and the honor. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. And someone says aloud, amen. Remember, we're live on YouTube and also on our Facebook. All right, today we're just going to go for it. So I'm going to introduce our guest. Many of you have known her before, Veronia Spain. She was on here last week. She's a money coach by night, and she is a typical millennial who previously spent everything she had, and she was able to cut down her debt, and you can meet her and see her most of the time on YouTube, and she does some very funny stuff on there. Thank you for coming again, Veronia. God bless you. And then we've also got Jax. Jax, everyone knows Jax. Jax is an investment management professional over 7 years. He blew us away last week, and I'm sure that he's still got some more to share with us. He's a social entrepreneur and a retail investor himself. And then we've got a wonderful guest tonight, and his name is Emmanuel Asuku. You know him, everyone knows him, of the Iman Effect. He's a qualified financial advisor, and he has worked in the financial services for over 15 years. Emmanuel has the privilege of giving financial education to more than over 30,000 people. But the good thing and the thing that's blew me away is I love his Instagram page. He just blows me away with his nuggets. But also, if you've noticed, you can see him as a financial advisor and a TV personality. You can see him also on Channel 4, Save Well, Spend Better, Save Well, Spend Better, and also BBC, Your Money and Your Life, and also on ITV. He's in high demand, so we are so grateful that we have you tonight. And so God bless you, man, and thank you everyone for being online. So guys, are we ready? And okay, I am going to start with Emmanuel because Emmanuel is on for the first time here. Emmanuel, can you just tell us really, how did you come into this? Why being a financial advisor? Why being an investor? Why being a coach? What have you seen that tugs on your heart and your passion to be able to reach out to this generation based on the things that are going on?
Hey, Barca, yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, as you said, I'm a financial advisor, qualified, started off in Barclays and worked my way through. And I got to the point where I was helping clients, and the minimum assets that they had to have was 2 million liquid assets. So not property, as in disposable liquid assets that they had to have to be a client. And as I started to work in this field, I looked around and I never saw nobody like me. I would have clients come in and they never looked like me. They never came from a council estate like me. They never came from a background like me. They never went to the same types of schools that I went to. Yet I will go to church on Sunday and have 600, 700 people that look like me. I don't see them during the week. I said, there must be a problem.
Come on.
I said, there must be a problem.
That's shaking his head to that. Yeah, come on. Yeah.
So for me, it was a case of why am I not seeing these people, number one? And then number two, when I am seeing them, they're asking me, oh, can you get me a loan? They're not asking me what's the best investment. They're not asking me what shares should I put my money into. They're not asking me how to get a mortgage. They're asking me, can I get a loan? Can I get this? Because obviously, there's a new gele to buy. There's a new party to go to. There are new shoes that are needed. And so for me, I could see the problem, because when I saw I've sat down with literally millionaires. I've sat down with billionaire families. And if you see them, for a lot of them, you wouldn't even know. Their clothes are very, very normal. They're very normal. You might even have got on the bus and sat, and you wouldn't even know that person is, because you know what? They got this secret gadget, and it's called online banking. And you see, online banking will always tell you the truth. For a lot of us, we use Instagram, and Instagram will hide and make us feel like we're doing well. And we will take the picture at that restaurant. You know that you're using your overdraft to eat that food, but the Instagram doesn't tell you that. You go and you will go and take pictures, buy clothes, and do all of this stuff, but it doesn't tell you what's going on. You see, online banking doesn't lie; it tells you the truth. And for a lot of my clients, they know who they are, so they don't need to spend money to make themselves look rich. They really are rich. They really do have money. And so for me, it was understanding, and then it's about being the change that you want to see. I feel like it's important. Like, I've got this knowledge. I've been to the other side. I could stay over there and enjoy it for myself, and maybe my family will win, or maybe my sisters, my family, my close friends. Or I could say, you know what, I'm going to leave that with the knowledge that I've got over there and bring it over to my people, and hope that my people will learn and develop and change, and we'll see more of us over the other side.
Wow. I can see Jack says the same thing last week about not seeing people like us, and that we just now need to change our thought process and how we start to see things. And that is one of those things that I really want to hone in, because there's a generation, and I was speaking to someone this afternoon. Funny enough, we had a wonderful discussion on this. And so they came up and they had this background which talks about the Maldives. And the guy now said to me, what do I have about the Maldives? Because sometimes in my message, I'm like, this, you go down there to the Maldives. Do I hate the Maldives? No, I said, I've actually been there. I said, but the thing that sticks straight in my mind when I was there with my wife was the fact that people are starting where they're supposed to end. So I probably saw over 3 to 4 something engagements, and I'm sure, I mean, so the guy going on his knees and giving a ring and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, and I was nudging my wife that I don't think all of these guys, young guys, are millionaires, that something is not quite right here, in that when I look at the total cost that was spent on that just one event, it cannot be less than £10,000 or something like that, excluding the ring. And I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm wrong. And we were sharing this, and the lady says, yeah, you know, in our generation, we have a lot of opportunities because we are staying at home and we have disposable cash. And I'm like, that's the problem. That's the problem. And so my question is, how do, I will go to Emmanuel first. How do we really start to change this mindset of, as you said, buying gele and buying bags and buying, I normally say, different kinds of countries with their hairs and all that. How do we bring it to this generation that these opportunities supposed to be used in a positive way than in the way that they're spending money on?
I think it's simple. It's difficult, but it's simple. I think people have to love themselves. I think that the big problem is that we have a generation that doesn't have self-worth. They don't value themselves. So because you don't value yourself, in your mind, you believe that you have to buy things to be valuable. So for example, let me tell you, 2020, we saw everybody go to Dubai. Do you think that was by accident? Somebody has paid a lot of money to pay for influencers to make it seem cool to go to Dubai. Now people that should never be going to Dubai are going to Dubai. You forget the people that encourage you to go to Dubai probably went there for free. So you are spending your more than what your generation has had to go and fly out to Dubai because you want to follow your idols or people that you look up to, but they spent nothing. And so sometimes we don't realize how much we are sheep. We are literally sheep, because what we do things because we believe that these things will make us valuable. But you've been to Dubai and come back and you're still in the same place. So how much more valuable are you? You've got Balenciaga and red bottoms in your wardrobe, but you still got no job. You've done so much to add that to make you think that you're valuable, but you are valuable already. The things that make you valuable have nothing to do with the amount of money that you can spend on an item or the places you can go. And until our generation understand less on consumerism and more ownership, we're always going to see a generation of people that will come. It will never be enough. I see 17-year-olds taking their girlfriends to the Shard. Are you crazy? What are you doing at 17? What you shouldn't even be. It doesn't even make sense. But this has become normal because, again, we are looking at those above, forgetting that guy went to the Shard for free. They ate for free. And now you are spending money that you should be saving to buy the first house and be the first person to own a property in your family in the UK, or even in your generation in the UK, and you're spending that in the Shard. Tomorrow it's in the toilet. Wow. To me, these are the issues that I see.
Veronia, let me ask you this question. Well, let's go deeper into it. What is financial independence? All of you, I'm going to ask you the same question. What do you think is financial independence? Because that's what we want to aim at. What is financial independence? Because rightly, as Emmanuel said, many people are not thinking of financial independence, but they're thinking of spending the money like in Dubai, in the Shard, and taking photographs and put it on their Instagram, which looks like they've added value. But there will be a time where they would not be able to be independent financially because of what they've done. So tell me, what do you think is financial independence? How can we teach people that?
Yeah, and I think in terms of Emmanuel's first point, what people don't tend to realize is that most of the time they're spending money that they don't have on liabilities. And what other people do, when I tend to see that, people that actually build wealth, is they actually focus on building their assets and their investments first. And then that will then pay for their holidays or pay for, whatever they want. And so I think we're at the point where we've forgotten about, you know, actually building investments. And to be honest, it does mean you do have to have an element of sacrifice. And so, Pastor, I think when you're talking about the timings in terms of when you're doing all these things is so important, because there is going to be a certain time where you can enjoy your holidays. And if you want to fly business class, for example, you can do that. But you want to think, have you got the assets that are actually paying for those holidays? If you're actually spending money that you don't really have on liabilities, then you've defeated the purpose. And so when it comes to financial independence, it's really thinking about your assets, so your investments, wherever you're investing in, for example, actually paying for all of your expenses. And so what that essentially means is that if you didn't want to work, you don't need to work, because your assets are basically paying for your lifestyle. But most people actually still really do enjoy working. But again, it's really about that choice. So if you decide, actually, I want to start working part-time and I want to, for example, start serving others, or, you know, you might even want to give your time to charities, for example, you can do that because you have your assets that are essentially paying for all of your expenses. And so that's why I think it's so important for us to really focus on that, because you never know what's going to happen. For example, if you lost your job today, how long do you think you'd be able to survive? And so that's why, again, setting your financial foundation is so important. And I think that's really when my sort of mindset really started to shift, especially when I had liabilities like my car debt, for example, because when I realized if I lost my job today, how long would it take me to really start still paying for this car? And I realized that I wouldn't be able to pay for the next month. And so since then, that's when I completely just changed and then really wanted to focus on that financial independence journey.
Right. Jack, speak to me.
Yeah, so you know, many people actually, well, I say many, some people only ever see financial independence at retirement age. So what happens is, obviously, you add money to your pensions and it grows over a long period of time. And when you hit the age of 57 or 65, wherever it is, that's when you are financially independent, right? Because then your assets, because that's what it actually is, your pensions is accumulated assets over a long period of time. And the way it works is then those assets pay for your lifestyle in the form of an income. But very unfortunately, this is where it gets really sad, especially for our demographic. And I was speaking to my dad at the end of 2019, and he said to me, a lot of people from our demographic will not be able to retire, or his friends, a lot of them can't retire because even at that level, they've not even saved up enough or even contributed towards their pension. In fact, they didn't even know the difference between a defined contribution or a national what's it, the state pension. The state pension relative to a private pension. They don't know the difference. And even the people that are middle class tend to retire when they hit the pension age. Now, you don't have to wait to that age. You don't have to wait to 55, 65 plus to be able to retire. Now, when we say retire, on a personal level, I don't even believe in the term retire. I believe in just adding value to the world until the day God calls me. But it's having the ability to do what you want to without having to work purely for money. And I think that's what is really important. It's important to, you know, start at a very young age, because you've got time, and then use your time, your energy, and obviously your money as capital to build these assets, which then can pay for your lifestyle, such that at a specific age, whatever you choose, you can actually use your assets to pay for your lifestyle. Now, just to piggyback off what Emmanuel said initially, I was speaking to a few young people. I tend to mentor a few young people, and I said to them, look, if I was you, I would see the world very differently to how I used to see it when I was young. I used to flex too, I'll be very honest. I used to wear the Gucci, the Prada. I've done it. I've done all of that stuff. And Iman is right. A lot of it was the fact that I just wanted to fit in. I just wanted to show that I had money. I had maybe £500 left in my bank account at the time, right? But what I would say is to the young people, if there's any young people watching, is use a different way of flexing, right? Flex with your investment portfolio. So that's what I do now. I'm not going to flex with what I wear. Listen, when I was broke, I would make sure I look perfect when I stepped outside. Nowadays, I could walk outside in my slippers, in a plain t-shirt, even my singlet, as you call it. And I'm very comfortable because I know who I am. And if you want me to flex, then I will show you my investment portfolio. That's just a way to help the young people change their mindset, because they still need to be able to flex, if that makes sense.
Right. Emmanuel, I'm coming to you about this, and then I will want to revisit on how exactly and what exactly can we start to invest in to get our financial independence. But yeah, what do you see as financial independence? Emmanuel, take us further into this.
I think what's been said is exactly it. I think for me, when I talk about financial independence, it really comes down to time freedom. I think for a lot of people, they think about money, but actually, I always consider money. I like food. If people know me, they know I like food. So I always consider money to be salt. To me, money is salt. All right, and life is food, is meat. I love meat. I'm a chicken meat. I love meat. Meat. I love meat. The only diet I ever like to do is keto because I get to eat meat. That's the only diet that I believe in. And you see, when you see with meat, if the meat is bad, even if you put salt on bad meat, it will still be bad. It may taste good, but you know tomorrow you're in the toilet, you're finished. Do you understand? And you see what we do is that what we're trying to do is get as much as possible. But all that salt with bad meat makes no sense. You see, with money, it's about the life that you're living. So if you've got family, you've got loved ones, you've got friends, and then you add money to it. If you've got good meat and you add salt to it, then you've got a nice meal. Then you've got a nice life. But you see, a lot of us we're just hoarding salt. We're just trying to get as much salt as we can, and it makes no sense because money that's why we see millionaires commit suicide. If a millionaire can commit suicide, that will let you know that there's no amount of money that can make you happy. You need to be happy already. Then when you now add money to that, woo, we're flying. Do you know what I mean? It's a different level. It's a different type of enjoyment. And to me, financial independence is the independence of time. I can now select my time. I tell people for the last 2 years, I went from being made redundant just after I had my 4th child to then running my own business, and now I work for myself. The last 2 years, I work 3 days a week. People don't, but I work 3 days a week.
Come on.
I could work 5 days a week and make more money, but I got young kids and they're only young once. So I'm gonna work 3 days a week. I make less money, but have more time with my kids because I understand the investment that I want to make in my children. And I'm not gonna allow the amount of money that I can make ruin the enjoyment that I get from investing in the children that I decided to bring into this earth. And so for me, that's financial independence. And so it's about understanding that you now have control, and that is control of your time. There are people that make loads of money. I see them, Goldman Sachs, all these, speak to them. They're working 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. That's not for me. They're not independent. They're rich. They are rich, but they are not independent. They are very much not independent. They are dependent on their job, and they are also you could almost say they are slaves to their work. So we can't confuse the amount of money that you make with financial independence. The two are completely separate. Financial independence has to do with the amount of time that you have to do the things that you enjoy.
Oh, that knocked me for 10. That knocked me. And so we need to talk about it. So money does not actually bring you happiness. It's that independence, that talk to me, man. That blew me away, man.
No, I mean, and the thing is, I'll let the other two talk, because once you get into this, ask anybody that does finance, trust me, that they'll tell you that all of a sudden it wasn't about money anymore. When you understand money, you understand that it's not about money. I can make money. I make money every day. I always tell people I don't have a payday. If I wanted to make money, I can make money every day. There's money to be made every single day. But when you start to understand money, you understand the rule and understand the value. That's the problem. We don't teach value. This is why I'm very much on business. I always encourage young people, whether you want to be an entrepreneur or not, understand business. Because if you can create a business and make money from a business, and you understand the process and the time that it takes to create value for somebody else to pay for something that you created, the way you look at money is completely different. The way you understand money is completely different. And this is why it's so important for young people, even if it's lemonade or drink or whatever it is, it's so important that they understand how to create value, because it's the creation of value that will lead to your financial independence. You see, at work, the problem is at work, The reason that you're not getting the promotion you want is not because you haven't got the knowledge, it's because you haven't shown people the value that you can create. I tell people, when I was at Barclays, I was a cashier. Yeah. The cashier is the lowest level in the whole of retail banking is a cashier. When I took 1 week off work, that branch would not hit its target. So that when I finished uni, Barclays asked me, what do you want to become? I didn't apply. They asked me, what job do you want? Because of the value that I created, not worrying about the position. I understood that whatever position I'm in, if I can create value and make myself important, everything else will come. And the problem is we chase money rather than creating value.
So are we saying that if we focus on value and building our value systems, actually our value systems will attract the money, and when the money comes, the money will be diverted in the right place because it's our value that actually attracted the money?
Exactly. And value starts with you. Value starts with you. Before you can ever go to step to add value to someone else, you must first add value to yourself. And this is, people miss the process. When we talk about start at the wrong place, again, you will just have an idea, oh, I just want to invest in this, or I just want to make, but you haven't invested in yourself. Because that's why now you're shaking. Bitcoin is down. People are not sleeping. You're not sleeping. You're drinking whiskey to go to sleep for Bitcoin at your young age. Because you didn't invest in yourself and understand the investment of, you didn't take time to do your research. You didn't take time to understand how much can I actually afford to put in there. You didn't take time to, even if you didn't want to take the time, because remember, wealthy people pay for other people so they don't have to spend their time. If you understand about buying back your time, the reason rich people have gardeners, cleaners, drivers is not because they're lazy, it's because they value their time. And they understand that actually, that hour that someone drives me to and from work, the money I can make in that hour is more than what I'm paying someone to drive me. When you understand value. So if you understood value and you didn't have the time, you could have paid for someone like Jax, I'm thinking about doing this, but you wouldn't, because to pay Jax in your mind costs you too much. But now you've gone and lost your money. Ask yourself, how much would you have made if you made the right investment? Ask yourself how much you would have made if you understood about risk and reward, and maybe you didn't put all your money into Bitcoin, but a portion, and it was part of the plan, and you understood that it could potentially go down, but it's a long-term investment. You'll be sleeping. Ask yourself, how much is your sleep worth? Next time, I'm gonna pay Jax. That's what you're gonna say to yourself. I want everyone to write that down. Next time, I'm gonna pay Jax, because now you can't sleep.
Oh man, you're killing me. You guys are killing me, man. You're killing me, because that's the most important thing. I want to push this forward and start to get onto some practical things as we start to look. The basis in which you guys are talking about tonight has blown me away, because that is the message that we need to get across. Because many people are chasing money instead of chasing value, and therefore, because they're chasing money, they don't add any value to themselves. Veronia, how can someone really add value to themselves and start to save, budget, and start to set goals for themselves? Because that's what we call adding value.
Yeah. So I think sort of similar to what Emmanuel said, it's not about money. It's particularly when you're looking at financial independence, because otherwise you'll just start to be thinking about, the pounds in your account and what's happening. For me, you need to look at your mindset first. You need to focus on your mindset first. Start building habits. So for example, in my case, I think I've mentioned this before, but I stopped looking at social media. So I deactivated my accounts. And I did that because I knew that I needed to focus. And so what I did was, of course, spend most of the time actually building my relationship with God, for example, making sure that I'm reading my Bible, praying, consuming content that I know is good for me in terms of, you know, financial independence, personal development, all of those things where you can get books that books aren't expensive, for example. You can actually, you know, watch YouTube videos. So rather than, you know, maybe watching other videos that you might be watching before, could you start looking at, you know, financial independence videos or anything like that to really just start shifting your mindset? And again, this is why I mentioned that it's not always about money, because there are going to be other things that you want to focus. So when I was then focusing on personal finance, it meant that, okay, from a spiritual level, I need to focus on my relationship with God, but also from a health level, I need to focus on my actual physical health as well. So that then means, again, exercising. And you'll be surprised at how that starts to really fall into place, and knowing your why as well, especially when it comes to budgeting. Because I think when I talk to a lot of people, they just think, oh, you know, budgeting is boring. But you don't know what you're budgeting for. You don't know what you're saving for. Are you saving to invest to, you know, reach financial independence? Is that your goal? Are you saving up for your first property, for example? Once you know your why, it's a lot easier for you to know, okay, I've now got that vision. How am I going to then create value so that I can reach my goals even quicker?
That you know, you said the words that I normally say. People will come to me and say, Pastor, how do I stop doing this? How do I stop doing this? And I say, the question you're supposed to ask yourself is, why should I stop doing this? And that's important. Now, I'm going to oscillate between you and Emmanuel, and then I'll come to Jax for some specific stuff. You are about to get married.
Yes.
And so your financial situation is changing. You're about to get into a new, tell me about wedding, marriage, investment. What are you doing? And then I'm going to go to Emmanuel, who has 4 kids, and he just blew my mind about, I want to know how, what do you see about weddings, and what do you see about having a family and money and all that? So Werner, you're about to step into it. Tell me how you funding this. What is your financial mindset towards this?
Yeah, so the first thing I would say is, in terms of the wedding, it was actually a small part in our vision, actually. Our main sort of goal was to do with financial independence, because, again, for us, we want to have the time freedom, particularly, you know, if we are starting a family, to be able to spend as much time with our children, because we essentially weren't able to do that with our parents, because our parents were working quite a lot. And so that's really been a key goal of ours. And then the wedding was just kind of a, you know, small thing that you do sort of on the side. But for me, it was important, again, I did not want to have a wedding until I had set my financial foundation first. So I'm talking actually having my emergency fund, paying for the wedding in cash. There is no credit card debt being involved at all. I am not going to go and spend money, or, you know, on a liability with money that's not even mine, and then end up having to pay interest over 5 years just to pay it off. It wasn't going to happen. And so we really did have a set plan, but also remembering, again, we want to be able to invest first. That's the ultimate goal for us. And then obviously whatever's left, we can then put towards the wedding. And having that conversation with the parents was a little bit difficult, but essentially what we had to say is, look, this is our budget for the wedding. This is how much we're spending. If you would like to have more people, then you need to bring the money in, because essentially this is our budget, because we have other goals that we want to focus on.
Well, Manuel, speak to me about this craziness.
I mean, I feel like people feel that the more they spend, the more they love each other. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's not proven anywhere. It's a lie. The more you can have the biggest wedding in the world, you can still get divorced next week. It doesn't make a difference. People have been confused as in to say it's almost a status symbol, and it's very much culture. So we have to also understand that we come from a very rich culture. Although we are here in Europe, we have culture, and there are things that come across. But we also have to remember we're in a different place. There's not health and safety back there like there is. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can just get one field, put one canopy, and everyone can come, everyone can cook. Here, you can only have one person cook. And even that chef has to bring their license, their registration, their insurance. You've got a limited number of how many people you can have in a space.
Right.
I feel like for a lot of people, when it comes to weddings, we feel like, okay, I'm going to show. And actually, we forget that no matter we are going into, you're going into a marriage. You're going into a marriage, and a lot of people are going into marriage, and they're going into marriage in debt due to their wedding. I'm seeing, and I'm seeing, I've sat down with couples where they have taken 25K loan, which is the most they can get out each, to pay for the traditional, to pay for the traditional and to pay for the wedding. And I'm not talking one person. I'm talking, I've seen at least 5 and before the lockdown, at least 5 couples have sat down. Now, for some of them, I would say out of those 5, 3 of them were divorced within 2 years. Because what we don't understand is that in 2019, the number one reason for divorce was money. It passed infidelity. So before, it's always been infidelity. But for that particular year, it was money, okay? Money was the number one reason for divorce. And you see, when you go into remember, you are coming from 2 different places. You see, when you're doing all your courting, you're doing all your dating, you are going back to mom's house, he's going back to dad's house, we're all going. Now you are coming together. You are going to have money habits, life habits, cultural habits that you have learned in different homes that you're going to bring together. Then you're going to add the pressure of paying these debts. And then guess what? You guys are doing enjoyment. Then baby comes. You haven't spoke. You have no plan. You've just been doing enjoyment. Baby's here now. Now somebody has to go off work. The income in the house is down. When you took your loans, you based on the repayments on both of you working. Now you have a baby on the way and 1 income or 1.5 income if Mrs. can go back part-time.
Wow.
Because remember, if she doesn't go back part-time and goes back full-time, you've now got added a childcare cost on top. Wow. And remember, our parents, because they don't have time freedom, they can't be doing babysitting. They're still working in their 60s and 70s because they got no pension. I'm talking facts. This is facts. Our parents are still working because they didn't understand pension and savings and ISAs and all of these types of things. So they're still working in their 60s when you're thinking, oh, at least I've got a babysitter. No, you ain't got no babysitter. So now you're paying nursery fees. The pressure brings resentment. Resentment leads to divorce. And so for me, I need you to understand, if you really love that person, remember that love. Remember who you're marrying. One scripture that I always keep close to me is Acts 20:24. When Paul says, none of these things move me, nor do I count my life dear to myself, that I may finish this race with joy. For me, none of these things move me, and I must finish my race with joy. These are 2 things that I tell my wife. Does it move me? I don't care what you want to go and buy. Does it? None of these things move me. Like Jack said, I can wear my singlet and my short. It doesn't make a difference. I'm not moved by how you look at me. None of these things move me. And I must finish my race with joy. And there is no joy being in debt. Debt is not a place of joy. So for me, the way I hold that scripture, I always memorize it. I'll never let it go. And so we have to start understanding our why and our core principles. Yes, we can move like them, but we are not like them.
Whoa. Jax. Okay.
Yes.
Where do we start from? Now, both Emmanuel and they've blown me to pieces. We didn't plan this to be. Folks, you really got to get your friends on this because we didn't plan this. This is not what we were planning, but this is talking to us. It's even talking to me in my 50s. How much more? The thing that's coming out from this is what is value. It's just value. It's just value. And that thing will stick with me. What Emmanuel says, these things don't move me. That's the reason why social media and Instagram and all that, they're all fine. It's good that we're using it right now, but they should not move you. Where do we start from? What's the minimum? What can we now practically start to do?
Well, first and foremost, Veronia and Emmanuel have told us where to actually start from, which is the mindset. 3 words always comes to my mind: vision, priorities, and planning. So you start with the vision, and if you don't have a vision, you're already in trouble, right? Because you can't see the end goal. And that's what kills a lot of people. They just don't have the vision, right? And then priorities, because if you don't prioritize certain things, something is always going to take your attention and your time. But in terms of practicalities, in terms of working your way into financial freedom or financial independence, I would say the key thing is to plan. Speak to a financial advisor, speak to a financial planner, speak to a financial coach. Or if you want to get educated, I always advocate for education. Education is very, very important. So you can, I mean, the world we're living in right now, education is everywhere, right? You can binge on YouTube videos. You can listen to the right people on Instagram, right? Nowadays, when I started my journey, I literally deleted half the people I realized were not good for me, and I started following people that had similar mindsets to me and were part of my vision and understood the kind of life that I really want to live. But in terms of practicalities, the first thing you want to do financially is, we've spoken about this before, is obviously try and get out of your bad debt. So, when I say bad debt, we're talking about those consumer debts, those credit cards, those debts that come with high interest. Try to get rid of them as soon as possible. That's what I advocate for, because it does really, really mess up your mind, and we spoke about things about depression and that kind of stuff. There's a huge correlation between debt, depression, and obviously other things as well. So try to get rid of this debt first. Maybe not your student loan because it's low interest, but get rid of your debt first. Then create what Verona said last week, your emergency fund. I don't like the term emergency because it's a bit, I call it the cash reserve. I'm a bit flamboyant like that. So create your cash reserve, but don't create a cash reserve that's too much, in my opinion. So what I say is, 3 to 6 months is what most people say. I say you can go up to potentially a year of your expenses as savings in some sort of instant access account. But once that's done, in my opinion, I don't think you need to continue saving, obviously depending on your objectives. If you have near-term purchases like a wedding, then obviously you have to have savings for that, right? But once these things are taken care of, your money then needs to work for you, for example. So what I talk about is your money needs to be going into assets that either have a very high chance of going up in value and or provide you with a cash flow. Different types of assets. And I also encourage people like, look, historically, there was a lot of what I call financial exclusion, which means if you wanted to invest in the stock market, for example, you would have had to go through a broker. Now, many brokers won't look at you unless you are high net worth, because brokers obviously want to take commission. Right, you need at least £500,000, or some brokers will say £1 million. But thank the good Lord for technological advancements and financial inclusion that nowadays you can start off with as small as £25 a month. Now, if you can't afford £25 a month, you either have an income problem or an expenditure problem, or a combination of both. And you just have to be very, very true to yourself as to ask yourself, what is it really? If it's an income problem, you need to add more value. As Iman said, you need to find ways to add more value. And I always tell people, the ways I managed to add value, the way I tripled my salary in 3 years, was because I knew what I was doing. I took professional qualifications, I spoke to the right people, and in my journey, I changed jobs. Some people try to move up the ladder. I moved horizontally, but into companies that obviously valued me. Because 3 years ago, I was not the same person. So 3 years down the line, you need to pay me for that 3 years value that I'm bringing now.
Come on.
Yeah. And in that time, I've added value to myself by taking professional qualifications. But yeah, we spoke about it last week. There's different asset classes you can invest in. The key thing is to speak to someone or to plan and to start putting your money into different asset classes, whether it's stocks and shares, whether it's real estate, whether it's bonds, alternative assets. The key thing is to understand how these things work, how they correlate with each other, and then you can start building a portfolio for yourself.
Great stuff. I'm going to go to Emmanuel, but before Emmanuel, let me speak to Verona. What's your practical terms on this? You see, the thing I'm hearing mostly, you understand, is education, education, education. Watch the right things. So, and one of the things I found out, instead of sitting down and watching Blue Therapy, many of you are supposed to start. You get 2 million watching Blue Therapy, and you get 0 watching financial investment. Okay, just tell me practically, Verona, what do we need to do? And then Jax, please, can you write this down, because I want to get more knowledge about dividends and stocks and all that. Yeah, so Verona, tell me what other things do they need to do, and then I'll go to Emmanuel.
Yeah, so I guess similar to what Jack said, when I always talk to some of my clients, I always tell them to think about your long-term goals first, because actually once you do that, that's going to keep you motivated when you actually have to go through everything else. And so once you've done that, the other core foundation, again, I know people don't like it, but you need to budget. I'm sorry, but you have to you need to know, the income that's coming in versus your expenses coming out. And so I tend to use something called the zero-based budget method, and that basically just means that I'm giving every pound and penny a name. So as soon as I get my income in, I'm allocating everything. So even if it's to the last £1, I know where that £1 is going. And there are different, budgeting methods that you can use. Some people prefer, the cash envelope system, for example. So that just basically means that rather than using your bank card, for example, when you get paid, you pull out cash and you put it in envelopes. And the reason why people like that is because, especially if you're quite bad with impulse spending, for example, you'll take that £10 and you'll take it to Lidl, and that £10 is all you have because you don't have your card. And so that's something that, other people can do.
That's good.
Yeah. So again, it's really going to depend on sort of what you prefer, the method that you prefer, and actually knowing yourself. Once you've done that, I think, again, for me, I try to think about having I call it emergency fund, but a mini emergency fund, really just before you start paying off your debt. And that's just because, just in case anything happens, in terms of, for example, if your car breaks down, the worst thing you want to do is get back into debt. So I tend to say, have a mini emergency fund. For example, if it's £500, if it's a month's worth of expenses, you can do that. So you have some cash on the side, and then that gives you the opportunity to now start attacking your debt if you do have it. And there are different, methods that you can do. So you can do the debt snowball method. So that really lists your debt smallest to highest, and then you attack the smallest one first. So Dave Ramsey is a massive advocate for that. So he's based in the US. He's a massive advocate for that. You can also do the avalanche method. So you pay off the high interest rate first, and then you go from there. So there are different methods that you can choose. And then after that, again, as Jax mentioned, emergency fund. So I tend to say, again, very similar, 3 to 6 months, maybe up to a year. It's going to also depend on your own risk tolerance as well when it comes to your emergency fund. So how comfortable do you feel with having 3 months versus 6 months, for example? Or again, if you're in a job where you're able to sort of, if you lost your job quickly and you were able to get your job, get another job relatively quickly, you might be more, interested in just having 3 months. But if you're in a position where you might not have maybe that many opportunities, for example, you might gear towards maybe the 6 months or a year, for example. So again, it's going to depend on your personal circumstances. And then after that, once you've saved up for any short-term goals, like your wedding, for example, or even a house or your car, once you've done that, now it's all about, okay, financial independence, for example, if that's a goal of yours, but really, again, putting your money to work.
Emmanuel, a nice car or multiple streams of income?
It's a good question. It's a good question. And I think one thing that we don't talk about enough is abundance. I feel like, it's important to budget. It's important to invest. But you see, when you're in a place of abundance, budgeting becomes so much easier to do. I think a lot of us saw abundance during lockdown, where you had to stay at home, you couldn't go out, you were still getting paid. And by the end of it, I saw people, this is the first time I've had £5,000 or £10,000, just because you couldn't spend it. But imagine if you could live the lifestyle you want to live and still be able to save that £10,000. Wow. That's multiple streams of income. Whoa. That can't come on one income. Sometimes we're putting too much pressure on one income. And so especially now, this generation, it's too much. Buying a house, it's too much one income. We need multiple streams of income. And so for me, I've got a principle of there are three core investments. Jax has mentioned 2 of them, property and also investing in stocks. But for me, the third one is business.
Come on, talk to me.
The third one is business. And again, if you've added value to yourself, somebody will pay you for that value. I promise you. And a lot of the time, the problem is that when we think about, I want to start a business, we think that it must be in London or it must be in our local community. We forget that we can go on Zoom, and as long as only one other person is on Zoom, it's free. Now, as long as somebody else in another country has internet, now you have a customer. Wow. Now you have someone that can potentially purchase your service.
Right.
But the problem is you haven't added value to yourself. You're watching Blue Therapy and then you've been watching EastEnders. Do you understand? You haven't added value to yourself. And so for me, and that's fine. I want us to understand that it's okay. If you just want to have one job and work 9 to 5 and go to work and come back and live paycheck to paycheck, that is fine. Everybody has the right to live the life that they want to live. My only problem is that if you say that you want something different, because once you say you want something different, your intentions must match. Too many people, and I know someone's listening here and say, man, why are you talking to me? Because you don't listen. That's why I have to keep coming for you. You don't listen. You say you want something, but you have no intention of ever getting it. You see, they talk about insanity and they say insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. Yet every day you come home from work, you sit down, you watch EastEnders, you eat the same food, you get on the same train, you go to the same work, you have the same meal deal, yet you expect your life to be different. Oh, because you pray. Oh, I understand, because you pray, of course. Of course, because you pray. Because you pray, it must change. I need you to understand that you have to be intentional. If you say, I want to change, nobody ever achieved anything by accident. People say, oh, that person's lucky. Luck is the opportunity you created for yourself by being active. You see, you can't be passively lucky. You have to do something active in order for that opportunity to come your way. Right. And so I ask people now, how many opportunities are you creating for yourself? You're not creating them because you are afraid that you might fail. But I need you to understand that failure, every time you fail, you're a step closer. You see, now we sit down and we have light. Einstein, do you know how many times and even then, even after he created, he wasn't the one that created the light bulb. No. There were still others. So one thing I like to tell people is that guess what? You don't even have to start from scratch. Find something that already exists and improve it and get paid. What does Google do? What does Apple do? They get a competitor. What do? They buy them. They don't say, oh, let me create this new division in Why? No, I would just buy them. Their mind. That we're using WhatsApp and it's owned by Facebook. We're using Instagram and it's owned by Facebook. So I don't understand why we sit here and we have so many opportunities to create and change our lives, but we choose the easy way out, which is just having one income. But yet we say we want to be a millionaire, and the average millionaire has at least 7 streams of income. Wow. So you now need to ask yourself, do you really want it? The answer is no. I've already told you don't want it. And that's fine. But understand that your life will mirror your intentions. Forget what you say. What do you do? And so for a lot of us, until we understand that we need to start doing things and doing things at a higher level. For me, I always tell people I don't live in today. I'm already 3 years ahead. I'm already thinking about what the actions I'm doing today are already paying me in the future. The money that I make now is from the past. People don't understand it. People think when I try to explain it, they don't get it. The money that I'm living at now is due to the actions that I've done in the past. That's it. True. The actions I'm making now are going to pay me in the future. True. And so what I'm trying to tell people is that if you want to really change your life, yes, we can talk investments, and you can make a little money and put, oh, I'm an investor now, I'll put £500 in crypto. You can make yourself feel good. That ain't changing your life. Wow. Okay? It's about consistency. And this is a word that we're afraid of. We are afraid to be consistent. Because consistency means that you're going to have to, like Verona said, like Verona said, you're going to have to stop social media. That's true. But you don't want to do that. You don't want to stop social media. True. It means that you're going to come off WhatsApp. You don't want to come off WhatsApp. True. So understand that what you're saying every day is that you want the same as what you've always got. And for me, that's not enough. But it doesn't have to be huge changes. For me, I do the 1% rule. every day, I just try and be 1% better than yesterday.
Wow.
And so what happens is, in 100 days, I'm 100% better. That means every year, I am 365% better than I was last year. And that just might mean I'm going to wake up 10 minutes earlier than I did yesterday. That may mean I'm going to read one extra book this week. These are small changes. Focus on the 1%, and you'll see the 1,000% in your life over time.
Boy, that blew me away, because if we can focus on that 1%, that 1% starts to increase. I remember I had this discussion with a lady. I'm not sure if anyone wants to jump in there. You understand? And I said, what do you do? And she said, oh, she's a fashion designer. And so I looked at her, so are you wearing your clothes? She says, no. So I said, what are you wearing? And she said, one designer. I said, so why are you adding value to somebody else when you're not proud of what you are bringing? If you had said, this is your design, I would be thinking, maybe I could buy it for my wife, you understand? But what we tend to do is that we tend to say we're in business, but we don't even buy our own business. So we're not adding value to it because we feel it's hard. And when we fail, we just say, oh, maybe it wasn't God's will. But was it not God's will? Or was it that we just didn't do this? And Jack or Vernon, you can jump in. How do we create that consistency in bringing those multiple streams of income, those little tiny things that we need to do? Because I want to say that if people can learn, Emmanuel said something and it brings me back. I could invite my wife here right now, she'll say the same thing. We are living on the investment that we made 25 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
It was, I've said this, I've preached this so many times, it was between buying a big house or staying in our 2-bedroom house. And two ladies were saying, why do you need a 4-bedroom house now? We still stayed in our 2-bedroom house for another 5 to 6 years, you understand, according to what Veronia said, that you have to make sacrifices. And instead of doing that, the money that we were supposed to buy a 4-bedroom to belong, to make people know we also have arrived, because I just got into IT then. So I need to show them that I've arrived. They just said, why don't you invest it in 1 or 2 properties? And that is exactly what we did. And I must say that where we're living right now is the investment of the investment. How do people create wealth now?
Look, I mean, I've heard so much, and as I was listening to Verona and Emmanuel, I just wanted to jump in, you know, because I've been speaking about this for so long, and it's so nice to see other people like have the same mindset as I do. First and foremost, especially from a Christian background, I always tell you know, a lot of my Christian friends that faith without works is dead. So all this, I'm going to pray and something's going, manna's going to fall from heaven. It doesn't work. Faith without work is dead. Also, I think Iman was talking about, I call him Iman all the time, Emmanuel, was talking about, you know, things such as adding value to yourself first and foremost. And, you know, we could talk about stocks and shares, which I specialize in. But the truth of the matter is, if you study the wealthiest people, they normally have 3 types of assets. And the biggest one is they own their own business, equity. They own their own business, because with business comes the value creation and comes with scalability, right? And I always tell people, when you invest in stocks and shares, you need to understand you are investing in someone else's business. Right? It is unfortunately, people don't even understand that investing in stocks and shares is actually investing in business. They think it's just lottery tickets that they can just say, oh, this is going up, and let me just put my money into this one, it's going to continue going up. You need to understand that that thing is a business, right? But you have no control over that business. So the important thing, in my opinion, is for people to focus on their own business. Now, not everybody wants to own a business. I'm an advocate for owning your own business, because it even changes who you are and the value that you bring. You also mentioned something about the woman who wasn't even wearing her own attire. I don't know if you can see, but nowadays, I wear my own clothing. You know, I've created my own brand stuff, and I love it. And I just, you know, advertise myself by wearing my own clothing, and it looks good. This is my Gucci. This is my Louis Vuitton, because I feel comfortable in it. And also, I wanted to add something else. I've been reading for a very long time. When I started my personal finance journey, I started reading. Reading was one of the best things that I had done. In fact, I didn't even plan this, but on my table, there's books just lying around here and there. And what I'll say is reading really, really, really changes your mindset, right? Now, some people like to listen to podcasts, some people like to listen to different things, but I would really encourage people to start reading. In terms of building wealth, and this is where I want to add a bit of value. In today's age, one thing I have noticed is that we are living in one of the best opportunities to build the multiple streams of income that Emmanuel and Veron have spoken about, because we have access to people very easily, right? We talked about just, I've had clients from Europe that I would have never been able to have historically, right? And nowadays you can create products that can give you a different type of income. You've probably heard the phrase passive income is a buzzword, but it's a way to generate income from something that pays you over and over again, but it doesn't require you to consistently trade your time for money. And nowadays you can have a blog, you can create a blog, and even that blog in itself, right, or that personal brand that you have in itself can create multiple streams of income. You can have a YouTube channel like myself and Vrionia. If you get a specific amount of watch time and amount of subscribers, you can generate money from YouTube, right?
Right.
Your blog can have adverts on there. You can generate money from ad revenue, Google AdSense. You can coach people. You can write an ebook. You can do so much just from that one business that you have that generates that additional source of income. And of course, I have to talk about it because it is my specialty. You can invest in stocks and shares. Now, investing in other businesses is, in my opinion, the most passive form of income. When using your capital to invest in a company that is very profitable, that distributes some of those profits to you in the form of dividends, is the most passive income you can ever have. It starts off really small, but like we said, consistency, that's where the game is at. If you can start early and you can do this for a long period of time, I can guarantee you in the next 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, you will be laughing. You'll be laughing, because the best way to grow an investment portfolio is 3 things: time, to contribute money, and the performance of your underlying assets. A lot of people think about performance. Oh, look at me, I've made 100%. What did you do? Okay, because 100% on £100 is still just £100, right?
Whoa.
So you need to be adding the capital consistently and doing it over a long period of time. And I would encourage everyone listening to go online and to play around with what we call an investment calculator, or some people call it a compound interest calculator. Put some numbers in there, and just see the output. Change the numbers around, change how long you're going to invest for, change how much you're contributing towards your portfolio. And obviously you can change the performance of the underlying assets as well. And you will notice that, hey, if you are young and you are listening to this, the earlier you start, time is one thing you can't get back. Someone who starts investing at the age of 20 and someone who starts investing at the age of 40, by the time the 40-year-old gets to 60, even if the 20-year-old is investing less than half of what the 40-year-old is investing, they would totally outdo the person investing later. So I always encourage people, look, no matter how young you start with as small as you can, not only for the money's sake, but to build good habits. We are habitual creatures. If you can build good habits from a young age, it will serve you well in the future.
Right. What you said, Emmanuel, you want to jump in there?
Yeah, Pastor, I just want to also talk about, because we've talked about value, and I want to just talk about knowing your worth. Okay? I think for a lot of us, this whole buzzword again, and reading can be dangerous. Okay? Jax will tell you, sometimes people will read certain books, they take it out of context, they're gone. Their money is gone, they'll never see it again because they've read it out of context. So sometimes you can be too smart for your own good. Okay? So you have to read and take time. And also make sure you look at other people's opinions. Sometimes you read one book and this is gospel, and that's always, but actually look at other experts. What do other people think within that area as well? Just like at school, you didn't just read one. You found there were other authors, poets, different, and you compared, and then you said, okay, this is what I like, and so forth. But I want to go on to talk about knowing your worth, because I know it's a big thing when I know my worth. I gotta get paid this and get paid that. I know my worth. Number one, for a lot of us, you've done nothing. Your worth is zero. Okay, you have a worth that is a value to you. Okay, you are important. You are lovely. The Lord Jesus loves you, died on the cross for you. Okay, amen. You are valuable. But in your industry, in the thing that you are going into, you have proven nothing. And therefore people want to pay you nothing. I want to tell people, I started off giving financial talks for free in church. I was going around giving talks for free in church. Listen, I'm a qualified financial advisor. I get paid. But for me to start my own business on my own, without Barclays behind me, without a company or corporate behind me, I had to go and start doing talks for free. Okay. From doing that talks, that gave me the confidence. I did seminars. Nobody wanted to turn up. I still carried on. I keep building. Yeah. Even then obviously we see the TV show. Even when I've gone on certain TV shows, the money they wanted to pay me to go on the TV show wasn't that much. I could say, oh, it's less than my worth. But I also have to understand the value in being able to be on those platforms. Okay? There is more than a financial worth to things, okay? And sometimes we put so much on the money and the financial element that we actually miss the opportunity. There's an opportunity in regards to what you're doing. And so for me, I didn't make that much money going on the television. I always tell people it was under £500 that they paid me each time to go to make these appearances.
Wow.
However, because I was on those, I went and give talks at corporate, £5,000.
Wow.
£5,000.
I get you.
£5,000. I give talks at school, £1,000 a time. I get invited to speak in places. I get people want to advertise on my social media, thousands to post. The post that I used to post for free. I still post for free, but I still get paid people pay me thousands of pounds to post on my social media. It's the value that I've added. And so what I'm trying to say is that you have to start from somewhere. And it may, there is a value in experience. This is something that they don't teach you. There is a value in experience. Sometimes the experience allows you to know listen, there were sometimes I went to give a talk that actually, I'm so happy that I gave it for free because I didn't do a good job. If I'm being honest.
Thank you for your honesty. Yeah.
I didn't do a good job.
Yeah.
But because it was free, everybody just pat me, well done. They noticed that this small boy, what was he talking? Do you know what I mean? But I was able to adapt. I was able to grow. Like now people hear me speak, they're like, wow, bro, I've spoke thousands of times.
Wow.
You're talking, I've been doing this for 14 years. So when you hear me speak for 1 hour and I say, listen, pay me £2,000 or whatever it may be, I need you to understand that's 14 years you're paying for, not the 1 hour. But there was a time in that 14 years that I wasn't getting paid, but I was learning, and that experience, there is value in experience. And I really want, if people are talking about starting businesses, if people are talking about offering service, if people are talking about wanting to build wealth, there is value in experience. So yes, read. But even if you, like Jack said, £25, you will still get every 6 months, and you put into an index fund. Every 6 months, they will send you a report telling you how the investments have performed. The people that have £1 million get the same report as you that have £25.
Wow.
And guess what? It will tell you what's gone good, what's gone bad, what their thoughts are going forward. It will tell you what the top stocks that they held, what stocks they've sold. Now you can start to use that to research and build. Wow. There is value in experience. Even my guys that are in Bitcoin now that can't sleep, there is value in the experience. Because next time you have learned to move differently.
Yes.
There is a value in that.
Yeah.
And so for me, I don't fear failure. I don't fear making mistakes because there is a value in experience.
Yeah, can I add something? It's interesting you mentioned that, man. I just want to add, this morning I posted something on my social media, my Instagram, and I said, guys, look, when you start investing and your portfolio is small, use that as experience. Trust me, because I've been there where, when the stock market is moving consistently and is moving 5%, 10%, 20% on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't hurt so much when your portfolio is £1,000. Trust me, when it's six figures and you see 10% moving on a day-to-day basis, your heart can stop, right? But if you've managed to build that emotional maturity through the experience, then you understand that, hey, this is how the stock market works. This is part of the game. Volatility is part of the game. So I just wanted to add that to it. It's very, very important to gain experience.
Veronia, speak to me. Speak to me, and let me add this as you're going to talk. Somebody says, what if you need social media to promote your business? How do you advertise your business if you need social media? Yeah, you can answer that question after you've done this contribution. Yeah.
Yeah, so the first thing I kind of wanted to talk about was really the importance of giving and serving others. I think a lot of us can really confuse just, making money and having money and all of that. But in order for you to receive, you also need to give. And so it's really important, especially when you're looking at, for example, if you're starting a business, you need to be thinking not how much money am I going to make, but how am I going to serve my audience? How am I going to serve other people? And like Emmanuel said, for example, when I sort of started my business, for the first 7 months, I made £200. But for me, the vision was, how do I get people to start talking about personal finance? What's God's given purpose for me, and how do I fulfill it? I know that the money will come later, but for now, what's my purpose and what do I need to do? And how do I need to serve others? The same thing, for example, when I was paying off my debt, the first thing I did actually, which before I never really actually used to pay my tithes before. Because I didn't know, about paying tithes. It was when I started learning about personal finance and I was still in debt. And I said, you know what, I'm going to pay my tithes. When I started paying my tithes is when I actually paid off my debt quicker than I actually planned to pay it off. And it was me consistently giving my tithes, and also I actually started giving my time as well, so I became an usher at WT. But because of that, I know that it was God that then said, actually, you've now been able to give back to him, because the money is his, the money is not mine. I'm essentially a steward, and so I've been able to actually receive because I'm also giving. And so whenever I'm actually talking to my audience or talking to my clients, I need to put them here first in my mind before I actually think about the money. And just in terms of the second point, in terms of social media, I definitely don't have a problem with social media. I use social media as well to, promote everything. But I think you just need to understand, the limits in terms of, are you using social media, for example, as your business, which is very different compared to you scrolling for hours looking at, other things. And so again, very similar to what Jax mentioned, I don't particularly follow a lot of people where they don't really have an interest in me, or they don't have the same mindset as me. Because if I'm on social media, and to be honest, I really only use social media for, talking to my audience. After that, what do I have to do to stay on social media? But if I, for example, want to look at some quotes, for example, I know that I'm following people where they are reminding me daily, I'm seeing Jack's posts, I'm seeing other people's posts, reminding me of why I'm doing something and why I need to focus on, my end vision. So, I'm definitely a fan of using social media, but just using it in the right way.
Let me say this. You guys that are on this platform, none of you sent me a letter. Can I come onto your platform? Nobody. In fact, Veronia just dropped. Let me take you guys as an example so people will know there's value in giving. Veronia serves in church as an usher, and then we had a discussion. While we were having a discussion, always when I sit down with young things, what are the first thing I'm talking about? Finances. So how's your? I said, her fiance said, she does this blog and all this kind of stuff. Immediately I went onto it. I looked at it. The first thing I saw was this person has spent time. You see a lot of people do stuff on Instagram or on YouTube, and you're like, for crying out loud, what exactly are you doing? But the first one I saw, I'm like, okay, she is the instigator of what we're doing right now. You understand? And Emmanuel, I've just followed him for a long time. and it's not them applying to us. It's the first thing in their mind is, I want to give back to this generation, and then things will start to follow. Somebody once asked me a question, a pastor asked me a question, and then I'll let Emmanuel talk. He says to me, Pastor Tai, why is your church doing that? Why do you have a lot of young people in your church and all that kind of stuff? That we want to start to have a youth group. And I looked at him and I said, that's your problem. Your problem is you want to have something to tick the boxes. I want to have something to add value. You understand? I said, you see my generation, I'm sorry to use my generation, you said the over 50s, many people want them in their church. You know why they want them in their church? Because they bring money. You understand? The young generation, they sort of spend money. The older generation, you hoodwink them and they bring money. I said, so we are focused on what they can give to you than what you can give to them. I want the young ones, and I never thought about money. We even did our 2 albums. When we did our 2 albums and we did the concert, one of the pastors was saying, you didn't raise any money for the concert. You didn't ask people to buy. No, the CDs were not to make money. It's an investment into people's life. And I said, we want to just add value. And when you add value to people, and that's my heart's desire with the young ones, I want to add value. When it's nothing about the money, it's not what they can do. I said to a lady, I'm not interested in your gift. I'm interested in you. But when people know you're interested in giving them value, even as a waiter, even as a bookkeeper, even as an accountant, people will recommend you to other people. And that's what we're trying to say to this generation. Sometimes you don't even have to own your own business. You can support somebody's business, and that takes you up to where you're going. Am I speaking right, Emmanuel? Jump in. Help me, bro.
Now, Pastor, you're talking facts. I always talk about the importance of mentorship. Mentorship is so important. And if you're a good mentor, mentorship is not just for your mentees, it's also for yourself. Like when I mentor my young people, actually it keeps me in check, because I know that I have a relationship to be honest. I have a duty to be honest with so if I'm falling off, I have a duty to tell them that I'm not even doing what I'm telling you I'm doing. I don't want to have that conversation. So it forces me to not only when I'm telling them, make sure you're doing this or doing, also I'm telling myself, hey man, make sure you're doing it, because you are now an example. There is so much importance that, we look back, but also we get from the older generation. I feel that a lot of young people will look and say, oh, the older generation, they're lost, they're gone, it's a different time. But I'm a big believer in a wise person learns from other people's mistakes.
All right, man, have we lost you?
Have you lost me? Am I still here? You still got me?
I can hear.
Or is it me?
Yeah?
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah.
It's all good. Okay, yeah. So I was saying I'm a big believer.
Talk about that old generation thing. We missed that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm a big believer in a wise person learns from another person's mistakes. And actually, what the older generation can teach us is the mistakes that they've already made. You can learn so much by sitting down with your parents. Like they're at an age, like I said, a lot of our parents are at an age where they should be thinking about winding down, and instead they're taking second and third jobs. They're at an age where they can't even afford to sit down. A lot of our parents will tell you that you're their pension.
Whoa.
They will tell you that you're their pension.
Yeah, I've got a podcast on that. I made a podcast on that. Are you your parents' pension?
They will tell you that you're their pension. And so what you have to say to yourself is that why are they in this situation? What mistakes have they made? Now you can cut them out. Imagine, I always tell young people, you're so blessed, because when I give the nuggets I'm going to give you, the things I'm going to tell you, if you listen to them, if you think I'm successful, like Jack's talked about time, where will you be? Because now, what took me maybe 10, 20 years to understand and to apply and to succeed from, you can do in 4 or 5. Because you can learn the blueprint. Somebody has gone before. But the problem is that we are not humble. We're not humble. A lot of us have ego. We've achieved nothing. We've got ego. Our chest is big. Some of us, our chest is big. Oh, you can't talk to me. You can't tell me. You can. Hello. You still in your mom's house, sleeping on single bed, and you're doing chess. Huh? You haven't even changed your sheets. Your mom still wash your boxes, and you're doing chess. Huh?
I thought I was brutal. Come on, man.
Oh, where does this ego come from? Where is it? Where? Sometimes we have to ask ourselves, where is it coming from? Is it because of the music that you're listening to? I need you to understand that these rappers have real money. You can bounce to the music, but you don't have the money. So your bounce is not the same. Do you understand? Some of us, we've got chess. Oh yeah, you know me, I'm this, I'm that. You haven't done anything. Yet we see people that have achieved and they're so humble. And you wonder why they get more. You wonder why more people want to work with them, why more opportunities come their way. Yet nobody wants to work with you.
Wow. Man, thank you guys. Now, I've got 5 minutes. If you've got any questions, you understand, on your to send to us, please send them in right now. I thought this would be a question. I think this is an education. You see, when you're educating someone, you just shut up with your questions because somehow you are getting things that are challenging you. But before I close, you understand, if there are any questions, just send it, just send it forth to me on our Instagram, on our YouTube, and I will be able to ask the panel. Now, before we go, you understand, I want to give each of the panel like 3-4 minutes to just say what they feel they want to give, anything on your hearts to help anyone. I'll start with you, Jax.
Oh my God. I mean, for me, I think it's just about being very honest with yourself. I think that's one of my biggest messages, being really, really honest with yourself. You know, you can, as Emmanuel said, you can big up your chest in front of other people, in front of your friends, but when it's all said and done and you're in your mom's house in your single bed, you know, how do you feel? I think that's the most important thing for me. And also having a vision. I think vision is extremely, extremely important, because once you have a vision, then you can work backwards as to what to do today to facilitate or to serve that vision. That's very, very important. And also education. Education never stops. You know, I keep talking about reading books. I've read so many different books. Like Emmanuel also said, not every book is for you, but you can learn from them. You can use the information to make better informed decisions. Wow. So I've read books from Robert Kiyosaki, I've read books from Dave Ramsey, I've read books from Tony Robbins, I've read books from Warren Buffett, Peter. I've read all of them, and then I've taken what I need to take out in order to make informed decisions that suit the kind of person I want to be. But also, don't underplay the Bible. Now, out of all the books that I have read, all I've seen is these guys have just twisted some of the things that are already written in the Bible. Ecclesiastes chapter 11, he talks about having 7 to 8 streams of income. It was said many years ago. It's not a coincidence that the richest people have 7 to 8 streams of income. It's been said. I always tell people, look, you say rich people are lack integrity or whatever, they just follow principles that were written many years ago, even if they don't know that it was in the Bible. It's principles. So you can learn a lot from the Bible. You can learn a lot from reading Proverbs and that kind of stuff. My key thing is, guys, just educate. My first and foremost is about what's in here and then what's in here. And then you can move forward.
Veronia, darling, let's hear you. Speak to us, please.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would say in particular just with women is that I just try to encourage as many women as possible to really focus on your finances. It's so important, and I know it can be a lot scary as well, particularly, you know, if you don't see as many role models, for example, but really just sort of actually taking the time to educate yourselves. And I think because with women, once they've educated themselves and they understand what they're doing, for example, in terms of what they're investing in, they're likely to be a lot more confident and also make those sort of logical decisions. So I would definitely, you know, encourage as many women to really focus on your finances. You know, you don't have to start investing £200 a month, you know, as soon as possible. You can really set your financial foundation first. And whilst you're doing that, that's where you can really start again learning about what's your vision, how can you create multiple streams of income, and how can you start investing. And then the only other thing I would say is really think about the time that you have, particularly, for example, if you have a 9-to-5 job, you know, and you come home 6-7 o'clock, what are you doing with your time before you go to bed, for example? Or what are you doing in the morning? What, you know, how much time are you giving to yourself to actually, again, you know, give value to yourself and actually improve yourself. So again, are you reading books? Are you, you know, consuming different types of content? Really use the time that you have, because again, that's going to compound over time. So even if you start with, again, little, you know, small habits, can you sort of wake up early in the morning, maybe 10 minutes earlier, read, you know, a part of the book, read your Bible, read, you know, anything? Can you really set yourself up so that, you know, by the time it comes to 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, you'll be surprised at how much you've achieved just by building those small habits.
Excellent. Emmanuel, let me hear from you. I've got some few questions I'm going to throw at all of you, but let me hear your speak to me. What's on your heart to tell everyone before we close?
I think the biggest thing is that, you know, we look at people and we look at their success, and we look at them and we say, oh, I want to be like them, or we put them on a pedestal. I want you to know that everybody started somewhere.
Come on.
Everybody started somewhere.
That's right.
Like, so when you see, like, again, just because, for example, this might be the first time you're interacting with me, and you may think, wow, this guy's knowledgeable. Or this is 14 years of dedication.
Wow.
So I need you to understand that there's a time and a process. I know we live in a society. I always talk about, you go on the underground. If it says 3 minutes or more, and they say it's a good service, you'll be angry. Like, 3 minutes, and you're saying it's a good service. We live in an instant. If that train is not 1 or 2 minutes, you're upset. But there are some things in life that it takes time. And so you can't watch others. I need you to understand, I'm not the only financial advisor.
Wow.
I wasn't the first financial advisor, and I won't be the last financial advisor. But there was something in me that they said, listen, we want to put you to the nation.
That's true.
And so what happens is that it takes time. If I was watching others and saying, oh, this person's achieving this person, I wouldn't be where I am.
Wow.
Because I had to understand what is for me will always be for me.
Wow.
And you know, when you understand what's for you, what then happens is service. I get all the time people messaging me, Emmanuel, help me with this. Emmanuel, I want to start a page online. I will give them the time. I'll tell them, if someone says, I want to be a financial advisor exactly like you, Emmanuel, how do you make your video? I get people tell me, I love your videos. Tell me how I will tell people exactly how I do. I won't hide nothing.
Wow.
Because I understand what is for me will always be for me.
Wow.
It doesn't matter. I can give you the blueprint, and you can go and you will achieve what you are supposed to achieve. And in fact, you might even add what you've got and build on and go past me. Wow. I'm happy for you, because whatever you got was meant for you. And if God can use me to bless somebody else, I'm happy. Do you understand? And the problem is that, especially in our community, one of the biggest diseases is jealousy and envy.
Jealousy.
And you see what happens is that somebody will come to look for help, and you will think to yourself, I can't help that person because that person may then do better than me.
Oh.
I need you to understand. I've got Jewish friends, yeah. Listen, if one wins, we all win. Asian friends, if one wins, we all win. In fact, I'm even going to buy that house with you. In fact, you can't even buy that house on your own. So guess what? I'm going to put my money in, and I'm going to buy that house with you. Because if you don't own a property, I've got one and you haven't got one, I can't be happy. I cannot be happy winning on my own. We must change that. That is a slavery legacy.
Wow.
That is a slave mentality. If somebody's been a slave for and they've come from slaves, and then someone says, here's a house, you think they're looking back to say, oh, I want everyone to get a house? No, I just want to stop being a slave. I want to have something. But I need you to understand, the reason I left that corporate environment is because I couldn't be happy being the only one, being a unicorn. That's what they used to call me, unicorn. Ian, you're such a... Listen, I meet amazing Black people every single day. But guess what? They just ain't had a chance. So they haven't had someone plant that seed, someone give them the opportunity, someone mold them and help them and show them another way. You may be the conduit to somebody else's blessing, but you choose to hold it. You choose to hold it. And then you're upset when God holds blessings from you. But you spend your life holding blessings from his children. I've said enough.
Thank you, man. Oh man, you guys blew me away. You blew me away. Let me before they throw stuff at me. Somebody asked the question: what are the top 3 books, please. Can anyone give me one book anyone can go and get? Jax, one book?
Yeah, The Richest Man in Babylon is one of the first books that I read when I first started. It's a very good personal finance book.
Yeah. Veronia, do you have one?
Yeah, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
That's popular, yeah, everyone. Hey, Emmanuel, have you got 15?
I don't even know. Like, there's so many books, but one thing I liked what's it called about sales. It's a sales book. Here it is. Is it? Yes, 1 Minute Salesperson. When I started at Barclays, this is what they gave us. Let me tell you, we talked about value. If you can sell in any economy, you can make money.
Right.
Because sales is transferable. So you can be a financial advisor, you could be a car salesman, it doesn't matter. If you know the ability, the skill of selling, because you understand that people buy people, they don't buy the product. People don't buy the product because they buy you. And because they buy into you and they believe in you, they buy the product. Wow. So if you understand how to sell, now you understand how to create money, how to create value, and how to create income. When I started at Barclays, this was the first book they gave us, the 1 Minute Salesperson. If anyone's thinking of starting a service-based business, anybody works in sales, anyone who works in something customer focused, this is a great book to teach you how to get started when it comes to sales.
Thank you, guys. Quick question. We've got a few more minutes just on.
Sorry, who moved my cheese? Who moved my cheese?
Who moved my cheese?
Sorry.
Who moved my cheese?
Sorry, I have to. Please.
Everyone buy that book.
Please.
Who moved my cheese? That is, in fact, they did Who Moved My Cheese and Who Moved My Church. Who Moved My Cheese and Who Moved My Church changed the way I operated in church stuff. It is fun. That book is fantastic. Who Moved My Cheese? You can put it there. Richest Man in Babylon. Who Moved My 2 Minute Salesman, Rich Man, Poor Dad, or whatever you got. Go and find these books. You'll be fine. Somebody said this question, please. What is the best and worst investment decisions you've made? Who do I go to? Who wants to answer that question?
I can go. I've got my worst investment I made was I bought shares in a company that I truly believed in very, very early on, done all my due diligence. It was an amazing investment. And then what happened was I was short-sighted. So I didn't have a very long-term horizon. I told people when you're investing, have an objective, think about your time horizon, and think about your ability and willingness to take risk. I had an objective, but I didn't think about my ability and willingness to take risk. And I didn't think of how long I wanted to hold this investment for. And so what happened was when volatility started to take place, I started to panic. Coming from a low income background, I had invested too much. I had invested £2,500 into one company. And then every single day I was seeing volatility. I got scared and I cashed out. I made about £500 in profits. Today, that investment would have made me £40,000 if only I had held the investment for a long period of time. So for me, that is my biggest mistake I've made in the stock market, mainly because I didn't have an objective. Well, I had an objective, but I didn't have the time horizon, and I didn't assess my ability and willingness to take risk. My best investment is still there today. I'm not allowed to speak about names because of what
don't speak about names. No.
But it's a company that I've invested in that I think obviously over the long term it will make sense. I think about the consumer behavior. I think about consumer behavior, how consumers are consumer products and services, and how those things can change over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And then I buy companies with good, strong balance sheets, financial statements, good CEOs, all that stuff. So in 10 years' time, I'll show you the investment.
Veronia, what's the what I would ask the question? What's the biggest mistakes you've made on your financial journey?
I think for me, it's probably when I was trying to pay off my debt. The one thing I would say is focus on one thing and put all of your energy towards that, because what I was doing when I first started is I was just trying to pay off these different debts and trying to save a bit of money, and it just wasn't working. So that's the one advice I would definitely give, because it meant that it took me longer to actually pay off my debt rather than actually just focusing on one thing and just putting everything into that, and actually again making the sacrifices to even lower your expenses or try and increase your income if you can as well, to really again attack that debt even more.
Great. Emmanuel, how do you get out of being your parents' pension?
I think it might be difficult to get out for a lot of us, but I think again it's about having conversations about, hopefully your parents have some assets that can help. So for example, I have clients who have property in London. They've sold that property, bought a house further out for cash, and then the remainder they then bought a house in Ghana, and they live in Ghana. They bought a business in Ghana as well to create an income using that money as well, so they get income. They rent the house here in the UK, and obviously those pounds go over to them in Ghana. They only come back to the UK to visit. And sometimes it's about being creative. So sometimes your parents have to understand, because they've got low income streams in the UK, where can they go that the conversion rate of those will give them the lifestyle that they want to live? Sometimes we are so focused on, I want to retire, I must retire in London. Actually, you can't afford to retire in London. You haven't done what you needed to do to retire in London. So now you have to go and find a country or an economy or somewhere that you can afford to retire in. Also, you have to look at the investments that you have, if you have any. If you don't, then again, as children, you may need to come together and look at how can you support, what are the things that you can do and help in that situation. I think sometimes, again, you know, a lot of us the rapper talk, I want to buy my mama a car, buy my mama a house. When you wouldn't even pay your rent. You wouldn't even put food in the fridge that you're eating with your lips. You're going to work making money and you wouldn't even put food in the fridge. Yet you're talking about, one day I'm going to buy my mama a house. How?
Yeah.
Speak that.
Can I say something? Because one thing I've actually done this is within my own investment portfolio, and I'm not sure if my mum is watching this, but I haven't actually told them. But what I've done within my own portfolio is I've actually got a mutual fund in my investment ISA specifically for my parents. But I'm not going to tell them before they start thinking I'm just there for pension's sake. So that's something you can do, or you can contribute towards their pension accounts, because obviously, you know, they get tax relief, so they can have a self-invested personal pension. You can contribute towards that. Obviously, it depends on their age and that kind of stuff.
I like what you said, Emmanuel. You're living in their house. You haven't even contributed to the food, but you want to buy them a car later. If you can't just go and buy shopping weekly, you will never buy them a car.
Come on.
God's not going to put
never ever
less mess. No, that is fantastic. Guys, we have to close right now. Somebody wrote here, is there a difference between reading paper, reading a book, and listening to audiobooks?
Good question. I think what's important is to know your learning style. So we all have different ways of learning. And this is one of the reasons, again, that we struggle, we may struggle at school, is because we haven't learned our learning style. So you have to know the best way that you learn. For some people, it is audiobooks. But for some people, you listen to audiobook and you fall asleep. It's not for you. You need to hold the physical book and read. So you need to know your learning style and which way you learn best, and then make that work for you. But it's about being intentional. Because again, like you may never learn just from one thing. But if I'm reading books or reading newspaper articles, watching podcasts, watching Bloomberg, if I'm intentional about what the knowledge it will come in over time naturally, just because I surround myself with those things.
Right. Guys, I must say thank you so much, guys. Honestly, you've blown me away with this one. You preach better. All of you preach better than I am. I'm in my retirement stage right now. I need to take a step. You guys have brought gems in today, and I really must appreciate you, really seriously. Thank you, guys. Our Worship Tabernacle friends and family, why don't you just do some emojis and appreciation to all these guys? They have been wonderful. It's been 2 weeks of investment. Veronia and Jax, you are a blessing. You understand? Thank you so much for supporting me in this. And Emmanuel, I trusted you anyway. I know clearly that right now we are going to move to a different level right now. You understand? Let me cancel this. People still think I'm finished. We are going to take this to another level. Hopefully, when we open church, we will do something like live. You understand? Emmanuel, we are going to hold on to you as much as possible because, man, you have been a blessing. Thank you, guys. Worship Tabernacle, I hope you've learned something really great from this. I'm going to close right now, but before we close, I'll keep my panel still on. But before we close, guys, as Veronia rightly said, on Wednesdays, it's a service. Give you know the bank details if you've got it. If not, go to our app download our app and you can give through our app. And it's such a blessing to be able to help us to do what we're doing right now and be a blessing. And the more you give, the more God will bless you. This church doesn't take out of you. We just give to you, but we also want you to support what we do. And God bless you in Jesus' name. On Sunday, we are going to continue what I call the cure for the joyless. I have to revert my sermon right now because my sermon was going on how you should help someone in our society, and Emmanuel has annoyingly preached my entire message, so I have to really find something else. Honestly, if you ask my wife, I think I must have said this to one or two people, that people need to give back to people, and then joy will start to come into their life. I will allude to it, but Emmanuel, you've said everything, so I might just tell them to listen to our podcast. It may help them. So guys, Cure for the Joyless Part 2. We are dealing with all this kind of depression and sorrow and all that kind of stuff, and we want to tell you how to get out of this and how to move forward, and some of those things are what you've been hearing tonight. Thank you so much, and as you give, let me pray over your giving. I declare that God is able to make all grace, every favor, and every blessing come to us in abundance, that we may under all circumstance, whatever the need, be self-sufficient, possessing enough to require no aid or support, and we will be furnished in abundance unto every good work and charitable donation in Jesus' precious name. Someone says a loud amen. Before I go, let me just quickly make sure that I've covered all the grounds so that Siobhan won't take. Please excel in your career. Your weekly career clinic will take place on Saturday between 12 and 2 p.m. Excelling in your career. They will focus on interview preparation, CV reconstruction, and strategic searching. These are things that we are doing in Worship Tabernacle. And though we are doing it for free, it is costing some people. Remember this. So please sign up by today to secure your place. And also Worship Tabernacle, Stella and Liz are doing a great job. There is on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Wow. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, you can book a one-to-one for personal advice. On interview preps, salary negotiation, and all that kind of stuff. So, guys, we are trying to help. Church is not about shabadaba, shabadaba, clap your hands and feel. No, we have to start to do this. We are also starting a financial mentoring scheme. We will let you know as we go along where you can get advice, a one-stop mortgage, property, debt cancellation, all that kind of stuff. We are building that team. We'll announce it to you as soon as we finish that. It's in the pipeline, and God bless you. And also women, on the 11th of June, 7 p.m., we have the ladies collaboration, and that's going to be wonderful. And my wife is still working the logistics of that. So guys, thank you so much. I know we've spent more time than that, but let's share the grace. May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the sweet fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us now and forevermore. And I want someone to shout this loud, say, surely goodness and mercy will follow us all the days of our life as we dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever. Amen. God bless you guys. Love you on YouTube. Love you on Facebook. It's a wrap. We're out. Thank you so much, guys.